Over by Bug Tussle, there's a school district called Athens that they've been doing it for a while. So I've been kind of watching them because they've talked about doing it at my kids' school. They've talked about doing it at a lot of schools around here, and I've got my finger on the pulse of the teacher nation and disagree with most of them because they love it. Of course they love it. Who wouldn't love a 4-day work week instead of a 5-day work week? Of course, and of course the kids love it. But you don't arrange schooling by what the kids love and don't love. They would also like to eat candy for lunch, right? They would like to go to school 1 day a week. They would like for school to be at the top of a water slide at Hurricane Harbor. But what do you think? 800-288-WBAP. Is a 4-day school week a good idea? Terry in Arlington, you're on the James Show. What do you think?
Yes. Well, I was calling actually to comment on the teacher burnout. I kind of agree with you. I think the 4-day work week is a little bit ridiculous. Plus, what about parents who work? What are they supposed to do with the child on the 5th day?
Well, it turns out parents kind of like it. To the clip of almost 90% of the parents like it. So that's interesting. I mean, that's interesting, but my entire judgment really hinges on, well, does it result in better test scores? It doesn't. Whenever you look up the research on what's been done thus far, and they go back, and we only have a few examples to pull from, but so far it shows a small drop in student achievement on standardized tests.
Right.
That's all that should matter. That's really all that should matter, that I think.
Right.
Who cares what the kid likes?
Exactly. And regarding teacher burnout, you had mentioned that earlier. I have a daughter in her early 30s who graduated from college, actually went back to her alma mater high school, taught history, and was the head softball coach. She also is in the Air Force Reserves and had to deploy during COVID. And when she returned to the States and returned to school, they didn't want to give her same job back, which is, you can't do that.
Isn't that illegal?
So she and my husband, yeah. So she and my husband had to go to the school board to fight that. So her main burnout wasn't discipline necessarily. It was politics and then parents. She also had a parent who stalked her because my daughter benched his daughter for disciplinary actions during a game.
Ooh, yeah. That's funny how in modern times, you're absolutely right. One of the biggest problems teachers face in 2024 isn't students, it's the damn parents. Boy, I've heard that a lot.
So she burned out after 6 years, and she is a great teacher, great mentor, great coach, and they really lost out losing her. But they, like I said, parents and politics finally did her in.
I've heard that before. Thank you very much for calling, Terry in Arlington. Let's go to James in Rockwall. You're on the James Show. What say you, sir?
Well, good afternoon, James. I am actually a current teacher. I've been teaching for 10-plus years now. And, the 4-day week has been an interesting thing that's developed in the last, I want to say, 5 or 6 years. Athens, that you mentioned, was actually the first district in Texas, I believe, to implement the 4-day week. And it truly is a teacher retention tool at this point to try and keep teachers at their district for the most part. Because, it's a one less workday for the most part. They do have to do usually the teachers have to work every other Friday for like a planning day or parent conferences or something like that. So they're not off every Friday, but they do have, planning and other things that they have to do. But right now it's mainly the rural smaller districts who are implementing this. And it's really been interesting to watch because I've been watching I do keep my face to it to watch, and those smaller districts who implement the 4-day work week, their teacher job listings instantly disappear.
I bet you all teachers want it. Wouldn't you like to have a job where you had a 3-day weekend every single weekend pretty much? And look, I know you said like every other day they got to go up there for teacher training or whatever. But yeah, that's like I work at the store and we got to go up there, but we don't deal with any customers. It's not really the same thing, and it's not the same amount of headaches. What a gift it is to teachers. And look, just like we shouldn't hinge too much on what kids say, we shouldn't really hinge too much on what teachers say when it comes to handing out amenities. I'm sure we'd make teachers even happier if we only move it to 1 day a week. But what does that do to the test scores? It brings them down. And when they talk about the savings, I just did a quick search on the break here. 1 to 2% savings is what they get financially from this move. So is it worth it, y'all? Thank you very much for your call, James and Rockwall. You're saving 1 to 2%, but you're driving down test scores. Well, we got to retain teachers. How about this? Pay them more. There's a thought. Listen, if you're going to call me with your argument in favor of this 4-day school week, saying the kids like it, you don't do what the kids like. One of the funny videos that was passed around in the whole, like, do you let a kindergarten decide their own gender, is someone brought up the example. They showed a kid. They sat down a 5, maybe 6-year-old kid at a table. And this guy has a stack of 3 Oreos right next to a stack of $100 bills that equals $10,000. And he simply asked the kid, well, which one would you rather have?
Have $10,000 cash, or, wait a minute, this 2 out of the box Oreo cookies. Huh? Oreo. Are you sure? Yes. That's $10,000 cash. You want the Oreo cookies? Are you sure? Yes. Okay.
He chose the Oreo cookie. 3 Oreo cookies, 3 loose Oreo cookies. Over $10,000. Of course they like the 4-day work week. That's not the point. They would also like it if they were sitting in beanbag chairs and they just watched Ren and Stimpy, if that's still a thing. That's not a thing? Sean says no. Okay. I guess that should be a buzzer. Sorry, wrong button there. So they could watch what? Bluey. How about that? Is that a better contemporary pop culture reference? Back to the phones here. Let's see what Paul in Dallas has to say. What do you think about a 4-day school week, Paul?
I think that's a joke. You said they have 21 weeks of actual 5-day weeks.
With full days, a couple of those are like you get an early release on Friday or something. But yeah, 21 out of the 52 weeks a year.
So in those 21 days, teachers are teaching them to take a test, not actually teaching them to think. And in those 21 days, they've got to have their
weeks.
LBGTQ, 21 weeks. They got to have their LBGTQ days, where they have the parades through the high school. They've got to have the whole furry day where the furries get a day to do whatever they do. The school is so bizarre now. You showed your age. You're probably close to my age. You showed your age when you mentioned Ren and Stimpy, and I was like, yep. But, of course.
Studio audience is about our age, too, Paul. No, I'm out in Buck Tussle. They do have furry days, but that's at the FFA barn. That's what they play with goats. Thank you very much. Hang on, I'm going to take some more calls here. Kelly in Cleburne, you're next up on the James Show. What do you think, Kelly?
Girl, you set off my triggers when you were talking about this. I work at a school, and I think the 4-day work week would be fine. I think that all of those other days that the kids have off should go away because the teachers are still working those days. The teachers aren't off, just the kids are off. And the teachers are getting PD days, so they're doing extra training. Why don't we let them stay home and do their work on that extra day off? If you want to save money, get rid of the $300,000, $400,000, and $500,000 at the top and put it back into school and quit teaching to the test.
$300,000, $400 at the top. You mean like the superintendents and administrators and whatnot?
Yes, they could put some of their salary back. I mean, come on.
Well, I don't like the argument that this is good for teachers and teacher retentions either, because that was the same thing that we were told about. You know, all the breaks that were happening during COVID, and after they got them behind, we now get back to class and we have all these days off as it is. And that how many days off do you need? When do you work?
The thing is you're saying that there's 21 days, but that's
21 weeks. 21 weeks.
Right, sorry, but that's for the kids. That's not for the teachers.
All right, look. If they're working just as vigorously on those other days, then how would it be a teacher recruitment success story? You can't. Yeah, they're not working nearly as hard on those days, or it wouldn't be a recruitment goldmine. Corey in Waco, you're next up on the James Show. What do you think?
I have two questions that I want to talk about. One, why are we closing schools for the solar eclipse? And 2, what about the logistics of all of the sporting events? Like your Monday through Thursday, what happens to Friday night football? I don't know, just the logistics of all that.
Well, Friday night
talk
football
about-
is something that has benefited because of the student athletes, and it's not just athletes, it's the cheerleaders, it's the band, it's the drill team, it's the student trainers. So for smaller schools like out in Bug Tussle, a big chunk of your student body has to travel a very long distance because there's not another school in their district for an hour, sometimes 2 hours away. And so Friday nights during football season have now just turned into commuting to the football game days, but the rest of the year, wasted.
What about solar eclipse? Have you heard why they're closing so many schools about that?
I haven't heard about that, but if it is, it's just going to make me even madder, Corey. So don't bring it up. I'm already mad as it is. They are so lazy.
They have done all of them in Central Texas are closing down because of the solar eclipse.
Yeah, Waco's like right in the middle of it. We're kind of off on the edge. Like the left edge of that solar eclipse is going to go through Fort Worth, so we're kind of in it here. Yeah, that's just something else to get me angry. Thanks a lot, Corey. Good to hear from you, though. Let's stick with the phones here. Let's go to James in Fort Worth. What do you think about the 4-day school week?
I agree with it. I think it should be. I'm a retired principal, been in education for 35 years. I think that, teachers, they work 187-day contract. Students go to school 182 days, which is extended because back in the day when we were getting out on Memorial Day or Labor Day and go from there, they've extended the days. But teachers have to work 10-hour days those 4 days. So students have to be there for 10 hours. So that gives a longer time for a student in science class to work on things, a math class to work on things during the day instead of cutting it short and then having to do it chunks.
Well, James, in Fort Worth, that is your perception, but the actual data shows that test scores and academic achievement goes down in a 4-day week.
Well, test scores have gone down and lately in a lot of things, and not because of the 4-day week. Just
a coincidence?
I'm just telling you that the way the tests now, TEA is taking over the test, and it's gotten a lot harder. That's why nobody's getting their scores from last year.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate your input. I'm not saying you're wrong. I have a different opinion. I'm going to leave you with a clip from the great George Carlin here on Public Schools.
The reason education sucks, and it's the same reason that it will never, ever, ever be fixed. It's never going to get any better. Don't look for it. Be happy with what you got. Because the owners of this country don't want that. I'm talking about the real owners now. The real owners, the big wealthy business interests that control things and make all the important decisions. Forget the politicians. The politicians are put there to give you the idea that you have freedom of choice. You don't. You have no choice. You have owners. They own you. They own everything. They own all the important land. They own and control the corporations. They've long since bought and paid for the Senate, the Congress, the state houses, the city halls. They got the judges in their back pockets. And they own all the big media companies, so they control just about all of the news and information you get to hear. They got you by the balls. They spend billions of dollars every year lobbying to get what they want. Well, we know what they want. They want more for themselves and less for everybody else. But I'll tell you what they don't want. They don't want a population of citizens capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, well-educated people capable of critical thinking. They're not interested in that. That doesn't help them. That's against their interest. That's right.
But it does save 2% off the budget. I'm James Parker. This has been The James Show. Stick around. Mark Levin's coming up next on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3.